Going to start with a story that will dominate the week. President Trump's trade war as stock markets here in Europe are down on the back of steep falls in Asia over the scope of US trade taxes that are due this week. Well, the president has designated Wednesday Liberation Day, when any country that taxes US goods will face the same taxes on their own imports into America. It's what's known as reciprocal tariffs. Now, some countries had hoped to be able to avoid them, like the UK, that's looking to cut its own trade deal. But comments from the president on Sunday that tariffs will hit all countries has seemingly spooked investors. So let's talk to Kathleen Brooks, who's research director. And Kathleen, that's the problem, isn't it? We don't yet know what this will look like, and the fear is evident in the market.
Yeah, absolutely. There's definitely some capitulation going into this tariff announcement on Wednesday. We saw the sell-off start at the end of last week, and it's definitely continued today. It's that known unknown. We've known this has been coming, but there's been a bit of a chaotic rollout of these tariffs from President Trump. He's given tariffs, he's then taken them away. I think there was a hope that this would be at least kicked down the road a little bit, but it seems like, there's been no let up from Trump over the weekend. The fact that he's mentioned all countries has really meant that, tariffs is just dominating market sentiment. Tariffs is falling so sharply.
Yes, and that was going to be my question. What is it that they're actually worried about? Is it the idea that tariffs will add extra costs? So that means that maybe consumers and business have less cash in their pocket, and therefore they can't, divert that money to be used elsewhere to fuel growth. Is that fundamentally what they're scared of here?
I think that's part of it. I think there's fears about inflation. We've just come out of an inflation cycle. We really don't want to go back into one. There's fears of growth being hit as well. Certainly, if you've got tariffs on your exports, that's going to hurt your economy. But what's really interesting, Ben, is that the US economy and the US financial markets have seen $5 trillion wiped off of their stock market value since Trump came into play. The market is really seeing this as being very bad for the US economy as well, and really bad for global economy, but global economic growth, global trade, but also for global geopolitics, global diplomatic relations. The markets don't know how to price Trump in this time around. And that's what's really knocking sentiment. It's that known unknown, I think, that is a big problem when it comes to investors and pricing in what to do or what steps to take next.
Yeah, and what's interesting, President Trump, just in the headlines there, that he's saying this is about putting America first, making sure that America is in a strong position, that it's not taken advantage of, in his words. But as you touch on, ultimately, this could be self-defeating, that the economy may stall. There may be fears of stagflation in the United States. American consumers could be paying more. None of that is politically palatable for him, but he seems to be prepared to push it through.
Yeah, it's as if he wants to cause this period of disruption because he thinks there'll be some promised land on the other side. Now, that may work out, or he may be shooting himself in the foot. What we've seen from history is that periods of protectionism are very bad for global growth and don't actually do very well for the countries that are implementing them. This tit for tat tariffs back and forth, that's going to hurt the US as much as it's hurting it elsewhere. And in fact, if anything, investors are really taking it out on US assets. US stock markets, they've fallen more than European stock markets, for example, this year. Likewise, the dollar is the weakest performer out of the major currencies so far in 2025. So this isn't plain sailing for the US. It's not going to bring in loads and loads of money and boost the economy. If anything, it could do the exact opposite. But I think Donald Trump is very clear, and he's no let up from him. He is sticking to his message that tariffs are needed for some grievance that he feels the American economy has experienced over recent decades.
Yeah, let's see how this week plays out. Kathleen, always good to chat to you. Thank you. Kathleen Brooks there at XTV. Thank you. We've established markets are rattled, but what about businesses themselves, particularly in the United States? Many are simply trying to work out what exactly those trade wars could mean for them, as our North America business correspondent Michelle Fleury now reports.
These are anxious times for US wine sellers. European goods are expected to be a prime target of upcoming tariffs, with EU alcohol already facing a tit-for-tat threat of 200% duty. Josh Cohen, the founder of Flatiron Wines and Spirits, was visiting French producers when I stopped by on a trip organised by his... How much of the conversation has been dominated by
talk? It would be devastating to pretty much everybody on this trip.
Why would it be so devastating?
Well, the trip has been organized by a very small importer, and their entire business, anybody that they employ, all the taxes they pay are supported by wines that they import from France. If there is a 200% tariff there's simply no way for them to sell those wines anymore in America, and they'll close up. That'll be it.
The newfound uncertainty has led some customers to stockpile their favourite
Champagne
tipples.
collectors have bought very deeply Burgundy and Barolo. You know, if you're organizing a wedding, for instance, and you have your heart set on a specific wine, well, don't wait till
Even
August.
if Trump's tariffs are more narrowly focused than first feared, the uncertainty has unsettled businesses.
From Wall Street to Main Street, there is some scepticism over tariffs. But Donald Trump believes America is being ripped off by its enemies and allies, and is betting that he can win over voters by bending global trade rules and bringing back jobs.
People are slow at accepting things that maybe they would rather not hear.
Wilbur Ross had a front row seat to tariffs as US Commerce Secretary during President Trump's first term.
People should have known that something like this was coming because he's been talking about it for many, many years.
Parmesan, Pecorino, some of the cheeses at DiPaolo's Fine Foods, selling imported Italian fare here in New York's Little Italy for 100 years. Owner Lou DiPaolo worries it becomes seriously expensive.
We are concerned. Concerned to the point that it's certainly going to affect our business. Prices will go higher.
But despite his business being caught in Trump's trade wars, he supports the president, telling me the pain from tariffs is a price worth paying.
The United States, in my opinion, has been giving away the store for many, many years.
The president will be hoping American businesses, along with major trading partners, will be just as under more tariffs. Michelle Fleury, BBC News.
Well, Philippe Legrand is a trade expert. He's from the London School of Economics. Joins us now. Good to have you here, and give us your sense of how this will play out. We were just chatting about some of the market reaction and fundamentally business trying to work out what this means for them. But it seems at this stage, whatever happens, it's not good news.
That's for sure. Nobody knows what's going to happen. I'm not even sure Trump himself knows what he's going to announce. But we know that it's going to be negative. Markets obviously are reacting first. I would hate to be an American business right now because you have no idea on what basis the costs you're going to have to pay for the inputs that go into your production. You don't know the costs that are going to be paid by your competitors. You don't know whether Americans are going to carry on consuming and therefore what it's going to be. You don't know pretty much everything. And you can see that business sentiment has plunged and investment, which is so crucial to growth, is stalling. And so I think that the United States, perhaps whatever happens this week, the United States is heading towards stagflation, that toxic combination of stagnant growth and inflation.
So why is he doing it?
Well, I think, first of all, he has this misplaced view of trade. He thinks imports are bad. He thinks only exports are good, and that if the US is running a trade deficit, that is, that imports are greater than exports, that it's being ripped off. I think, secondly, he misunderstands. He thinks that tariffs are his secret weapon and that actually they're attacks on foreigners, but they're not. They're attacks on Americans that consume foreign goods and therefore largely fall on Americans themselves. If there is a strategy, I think that he hopes that there's going to be a relocalization of manufacturing production to the US, and that's going to create much more likely, especially with the erratic behavior that he's showing, and with building a factory being a long-term investment, that's not going to happen.
Philippe, really good to talk to you. We will talk about this again, I'm sure, but for now, thank you, Philippe Legrand, there, a trade expert at the LSE. Thank you.